Hi, it's Kinndli here, back with another lab. Today what I want to focus on showing you is the difference between a wide stance in our yoga poses and narrow, and long versus short, and the benefit between both and why you would do one, why you do the other. Okay, so the first thing we'll look at is, let's look at pyramid pose. This is a pose that we stand facing the front of our mat, and we stand squared hipped. So we're squaring our hips and our chest to the front. Now in pyramid pose, imagine that there's a line drawn down the middle of your mat, and I'm going to make sure my right foot is on the right side of the mat and my left foot is on the left side of my mat. I always think of that picture from the movie The Breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston. Think of that. Draw that line right down the middle of your mat and don't cross the line, okay? Right foot on the right side, left foot on the left side. Now, we call this train tracks. So when your feet are train tracked, it's literally they're parallel to each other and wide. I feel really grounded in this pose. I could even take a warrior one with train tracks, and I feel nice and grounded. And the foot rotation on the back foot, we'll look at that in another video. I just want you to think about the width right now. So wider width, grounded, earthy. I feel I could stay here and stand here or fold forward into pyramid pose with my legs at this wider train track position. I could hang out there pretty long. I'm really grounded in my feet. So the opposite would be narrow. So if we go narrow, so that line that we drew on the mat, both heels are gonna line up onto that line. So now I'm like on a tight wire. So we're gonna call this the tight wire feet, okay? Now if I fold into that pyramid pose, I can still square my hips, bow my chest forward, but it's much more narrow and I have less stability left to right. So it's harder, it's more challenging, and that might be something you're playing with, is playing the edge of your pose. So going heel to heel or a little narrower is gonna be more fiery. It's gonna be more fiery and a little more like, woo, I might fall. If that's what you're into, playing your edge a little bit, then go narrow, okay? So wider, train tracks, more stable. Now I also want to look at the length from front to back, shorter and longer. So for example, in the same pose, if we do pyramid pose, I'm going to turn sideways. I'm going to do pyramid pose, I'm doing the train tracks, so my feet are wide, and I'm going to go short. So I'm going to go short, front to back, and wide. Turn myself to the front and fold. I feel very stable here. I'm wide on train tracks, and my feet are pretty close together. I mean, I could go even closer, and it just almost turns into a forward fold. So I don't know how close you really want to go there in your pyramid pose. Now let's try not train tracks. I'm going to go on my tight wire, and I'm going to go long. So I'm going to go longer. Now in my pyramid pose, woo, it's just again a little fierier. And I have to actually turn my back foot out a little bit more to give me the stability needed to balance on my tight wire. And this just might be a pose that you want to play with in a more fiery kind of way. So less stability here. Same in warrior one. I'm just going to bend my front knee. I'm on that tight wire. You can even see I'm a little wobbly, a little less stable. Now if in warrior one I want to go shorter and wider, whew, pretty grounded, pretty earthy, shorter and wider. Now this will also apply in a pose like downward facing dog. So in downward facing dog, if we go short and pretty wide, I'm real stable here. I can also feel that my low back is a little rounded. So if my goal is to get length in my spine, then I'm actually going to want to go longer. Longer in the pose, maybe not so wide. I'm going to go shoulder distance and hip distance apart, but longer. Woo, look at that freedom now. Freedom in my spine to move, to lengthen. My shoulders are having to work more now. My shoulder girdle, the muscles in my shoulder girdle are having to hold me up more now. Whereas here in the short down dog, my legs are kind of holding more of the weight. Long down dog, freer, longer spine. Not one's better than the other. It's going to be your choice. It's going to be depending on what you need that day. Some days I wake up and my balance just didn't get out of bed with me. So some days I need a little more train tracks and a little shorter, a little more stable. more earthy. And then some days I'm just wanting to play that edge, a little more fiery, go narrower and longer. Okay, so shorter stance and wider stance will give you more stability. You'll feel more grounded. Narrower stance and longer, you're going to feel more fiery and a little more playing the edge of your pose. I hope this lab helped and empowered you into your poses, and I will see you in the next lab. Thanks for joining.